Good evening, friends. I just wanted to share with you the recommendations that our COVID-19 task force presented to the session and have been accepted by the session as we move forward. I don't need to tell you that according to the most up-to-date medical research on COVID-19, the best medical practices for public safety and health continue to be wearing face masks, practicing social distancing, washing hands as often as possible, and disinfecting frequently touched areas. Gatherings of large groups in closed areas or spaces that are not properly ventilated are to be avoided. So keeping that in mind, the task force made the following recommendations to the session. Concerning worship, we will continue with our current practice to use social media and YouTube to air our worship services. Thank you for those of you who continue to write affirmations for our efforts as we do that. Friends, our sanctuary is not conducive to holding in-person worship services. We've looked at it every which way we can. It would be difficult for us to do that safely, especially during the summer months, since the CDC recommends that groups should not gather in rooms that rely on recirculated air. We're going to open the possibility of having baptisms and weddings and funerals once the weather gets cooler and we can open the windows and turn on the exhaust fans. Gatherings of 25 or fewer, however, wearing masks, following CDC guidelines, and only for short services, which would be kept to 20 minutes or less in the sanctuary. And of course, unfortunately, especially for our congregation, no singing. All this would be with prior or subject to prior approval by the session and the pastoral staff. We'll continue to hold official church meetings of church boards and committees via Zoom and not coming to the building to have those meetings. We are, however, going to try to open up the church grounds to gatherings of 25 or fewer church members and friends for non-essential church-related social groups, as long, again, as CDC guidelines are followed. Social groups meaning, for example, the Wednesday morning breakfast group or the Fellowship of Friends or the Book Look, a gathering of young adults or youth that will be allowed, subject to prior approval and reservation of the outdoor space being used. What we've got in mind is that we would create spaces within our campus that could be used by these small groups, like the courtyard or the patio by the co-op nursery entrance on the Avondale Road side of the church, potentially the commuter lot, the upper parking lot, and the strip where we usually have our church picnics behind the AMANTs and between the AMANTs and the upper parking lot. If you want to have a meeting with friends, then you'll need to call the church office and reserve that space on that particular time and date. That is subject, again, to CDC guidelines. So to be clear, all gatherings must be scheduled in advance through the church office. Those reserving a space at the church will be informed of our policy and will need to say that they have read and understood and plan to adhere to and comply with the policy. Namely, all gatherings must take place outside, limited to 25 or fewer people. Contact tracing would be necessary, so you would need to identify who the individuals were who came to your particular event. wearing of masks, keeping of social distance, using hand sanitizers prior to the meeting and after or gathering. You must bring your own chairs or your blankets to sit on. Food and drink will not be provided by the church, and members and friends should bring their own particular food for personal use rather than sharing that with one another. The church building will be closed, so church restrooms will not be available. And then obviously any and all trash must be put in trash bags and placed in the outside trash bins on the side of the church. And it goes without saying that if any of the participants are feeling sick or have a fever or cough, they should not attend but stay home. So I know it sounds a bit restrictive, but we're trying to open our campus up safely, keeping in mind that our first priority is the health of all of our members, regardless of their age. We are, my friends, painfully aware that the states who have reopened are now reporting a significant increase in COVID-19 cases. It's been 18 weeks now since we worshiped together, or about to be 18 weeks in person. And we realize that we may be forced to continue this practice for some time in the near future. That said, the staff and I are actively looking into possibilities that we could do once the weather breaks and is not quite so warm. We are looking at developing some short worship opportunities in late August, where we could gather as a congregation, perhaps in the courtyard or in one of the other spaces that I've just mentioned, for a short worship service or worship opportunity, not lasting more than 30 minutes. And again, keeping CDC guidelines at the forefront of our minds and making sure that we do everything we can to keep one another healthy. I wish we could do more at this time, but we really can't. So we will continue to do the very best that we can to bring you worship on Sunday morning and other opportunities throughout the week for children, youth, and adults. Please stay with this, be persistent, and persevere. We will persevere together as we make our way through this pandemic. If you've got any questions, feel free to email me or call the church office. Leslie will be posting basically what I've just said on our various social media platforms so that you can read it for yourselves. Friends, keep us in your prayers, keep the staff in your prayers as we keep all of you in ours as we move forward during this difficult time. God is with us. The spirit of hope and grace is always with us and will inspire us to find the joy even in these times when we are called to be apart from one another. God bless you. God bless you and yours. Stay safe, and I'll see you on Sunday morning and Thursday evenings. Blessings.